Tom, lovely to meet you. This is Drew at Adelaide Eternal. I'm here with Thomas Bott, the winner of the MTGO online tournament run by Isaac and Co. You just bagged yourself a sweet Mox Emerald. Well done, Thomas.
Thanks, Drew. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much for agreeing to chat with me. I was really keen to hear about your win and your deck, and I was really cheering for you from the Twitch chat as you were playing the top
chat
eight.
Chat was going crazy. It was good.
Did you watch the replay?
I was like dipping in and out of the chat just to like see what's going on because I had a lot of friends watching as well. So yeah, it was good just to get a bit of hype going for some Highlander.
Oh yeah. How long have you played Highlander?
Probably about 2 years now.
Okay.
Not too long. Yeah. But I basically started off playing, just went straight to Mud, so I've known this deck for quite a while. So yeah, it's been good to me.
Yeah, obviously. Well, tell us about the development of the deck.
So basically, I just wanted to try something that no one else had done. Like, I know everyone's just playing blue mid-range decks, and like, there's only so much space you can work in that realm. So I wanted to do something that's completely off the wall, just to like test the power level of stuff that no one else has really tried out. Yeah. So like, I looked at the point list, saw Mishra's at 1 point, and like, this lands a Black Lotus each turn. Why is it 1 point? So I just like started building the deck and just slowly tuned it and got it like all the little tweaks and fixed up whatever I could, and yeah, it's quite a good deck now.
Oh, I'll say, yeah. So that's interesting. I really love the story of how you like just looked at the points list and trying to build something from the ground up using your own kind of creativity and your own analysis of what was underpointed. Did you called it Mud, did you take inspiration from the vintage archetype?
Yeah, that was probably one of the first things I looked at, just like traditional vintage Mud, grabbed one of each of the good cards in that deck and then started working from there. And then I realized quickly that the best hands are the ones where you have your broken mana, like in vintage Mud as well. So I just put all my points into that and started from there. And then that's always been the case for the deck. That's always been what you want to be doing with it. So yeah, I just stuck with that, and that's definitely been the way to play it.
And did you come from vintage, or how long have you played Magic? What other formats did you play?
I started in Innistrad, so about 10, 11 years ago now, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Bit of Modern, Commander, Standard back in the day, and like Khan Zero was good. But yeah, kind of a bit of a dabbling in everything.
Yeah, and so when you saw these this broken mana and these underpointed cards that you wanted to exploit and push the boundaries of based on like the vintage deck somewhat, like how did you tune it, or like what was your game plan? Like were you just trying to pick the best of everything, like the best of artifacts, or were you trying to tune it towards a specific game plan?
Not really. Yeah, it was more so just like singular card power level. Like, was I happy to draw the card at any point in the game? And if the cards themselves were doing enough, then I'd like to stick them around, and if they weren't, then I just had to go. Like, Treasure Map's a good example. I thought it would be a good, like, kind of grindy card. And every time I drew it, I never had time to activate it. And it was just never good for me. So I just cut it. And, like, a lot of cards kind of followed a similar vein of thinking where you just try it out. If you weren't happy to draw it, then you should cut it. And, yeah, just keep playing until you're happy with every draw, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. So you obviously, and when you were doing this tuning, this fine tuning, all this, were you doing that against like the Melbourne metagame kind of thing?
Yeah, sort of. It was just playing with friends, really. And my friends aren't all that competitive, so they weren't, like, we didn't have like a gauntlet or anything specific going. We were just like playing whatever kind of brews we had going around. But yeah, you get a feel for like what people want to do in the format. Like all the blue mid-range decks, everyone wants to try them out. So you get a good feeling for like what you need to do against them. And then some friends play some aggro, you realize what you need to beat that. And yeah, you just kind of get a feel for it. And yeah, that's how I came to my 75.
That's interesting. So what I'm hearing is, yeah, like you weren't kind of directed by theory. You were kind of just driven by experience, like playing the deck against a whole range of different ones and just kept tuning based on that.
The only theory that I would really say I was driven by was the combo decks, because none of my friends really like to play combo, so I wasn't really too sure of how it played in practice, but I knew stuff like Jester's Cap, Torpor Orb against Thassa's Oracle, Thorn of Amethyst, Steel Resistance, all these kind of things would be really good against them. I didn't know in practice if they'd be good, but I just trusted the theory of behind them would be good enough, and
Yeah.
that's kind of how I got that matchup through. But yeah, everything else was kind of tested out. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you were theorizing how to beat the combo decks that you hadn't seen much of. We'll get to the sideboard later. I'll pull up the list in a minute and we'll go through it. It's interesting that, you talk about treasure map. Obviously you found Mazemind Tome good enough, but not treasure map. So tell me about that.
Yeah. The 1 mana to like activate the treasure map is like, it doesn't sound like much, but when you're playing, like let's say with a Mishra's Workshop, you can't use that mana to like tap the treasure map, and often on the early turns you're trying to you're trying to use all of your mana on the early turns to like get ahead whilst you can, because that's kind of the idea of the deck, is to do more mana worth of spells before your opponent can catch up. And if you're using like 3 of that mana to activate the treasure map 3 times, you're just kind of not like executing your game plan very well.
Okay,
so,
that's good. That's good that you're starting to talk about the game plan. I'm understanding now, because the first way you were describing it was just like, I'm just tuning based on experience. But you're trying to when you're getting this broken mana, you're trying to commit to the board and to get a bigger board than your opponent, and then win before they can recover. Yeah, that's interesting.
That's probably the best way to describe the game plan, is just cast more mana of spells than your opponent can before they can do anything about it.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay. Because often at times people try to play really efficient cards to get ahead that way, but instead of playing just the efficient cards, you're playing the broken mana as an alternative way to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Because I had a bit of a debate with Vance on the Discord about what kind of deck it is, like, because
it's a strange one.
I think it's the same point applies to the vintage deck as well. It's an aggro deck in a way. It wants to beat in hard with these creatures fast and big if you can, but sometimes you randomly also have a lot of mana on turn 2. So we were saying, is it like a ramp deck where you want to just generate lots of mana and cast something huge, or is it like a linear aggro deck where you're trying to like humans, but instead with artifacts, you're trying to create a board of creatures and gain through the synergy, get this huge payoff through the synergy?
Yeah, it's cool because it can be either one, like depending on the draw. Like if you have a workshop into a mana crypt into like a Batterskull, then it kind of covers both areas. You're casting 5 mana worth of spells, but you're also playing a 4/4 on turn 1. So whichever one you want to call it, really. But either hand, like any hand can produce either game plan, I suppose you could say.
Yeah, what I noticed, I've played a bit of artifacts as well, but what I noticed different about your deck was that it was a bit lower to the ground. It had that ability to be aggressive quickly. You weren't. I do play treasure map because I'm happy to save up time and cast an Emrakul. You're not doing that. You're smaller.
Is that so? You play like blue artifacts?
No, I just play colorless.
Okay.
This isn't about me. We won't talk about me. I'm just
curious because I've heard in South Australia there's like more mud kind of stuff going on, right?
Yeah, we can talk about that later. We can talk about that later. But I'm fascinated by your deck, which is that independent development that you arrived at. People want to hear about your deck, not because yours is the winning one. Okay, so I'm just pulling up some questions.
Yep.
We'll talk about the deck before we talk about your tournament run as well. You talked about the development and the game plan of the deck. I did notice when I was goldfishing it out of interest, there's a bit of a construct tribal theme. Were you aware of that?
Yeah, like Cavern of Souls, you always name construct with it because there's like 8 to 10 constructs. It wasn't intentional, but it just kind of worked out that like artifact creatures tend to be constructs, so you get a bit of extra value like at a cavern, but not a big deal. I guess the Scrapyard Recombiner also, that one likes having a bunch of options for your construct.
That's that sack it to tutor a construct, is that right?
Yeah. There are some cool lines with that one actually.
All right, yeah, tell me about that. Tell me about the lines.
So my favorite one is you go sack an artifact, get Steel Overseer, play it, then you go sack another artifact, go get Hangerback Walker, play that, put counters on it with the Steel Overseer, then you untap, put a counter on the Hangerback, then you sack the Hangerback to the Recombiner, then put a bunch of counters on the tokens, on the Thopters, and then get like a Ballista with the last activation of the Recombiner.
Okay, you've lost me a bit, but I get it. Yeah, you're tutoring up different
Yeah,
things.
you kind of make a bunch of Thopters with a counter on each, and then you have a ballista to follow up. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with it. That's my favorite one.
So I've just got your list here that the viewers can see. So yeah, you've got a lot of these counter creatures like the mud deck in vintage. Like you've got Hangerback, Walking Ballista, and you can pump them with Steel Overseer and some modular effects. How do you find an Arcbound Ravager? How did you find Arcbound Ravager?
He's not actually that great. It's strange as it seems. You think it'd be amazing, but you don't really want to sack any of your artifacts, so it kind of just like is a 1/1 a lot of the time, but it's just also insurance against removal spells, and it can let you do weird stuff in combat if your opponent's not too familiar with it. So it has its utilities, but like as an aggressive creature, it's actually just a 1/1. So who knows? Sometimes it's not that good.
I'm just going to check I'm recording. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, okay. But you do have a lot of little artifacts. Oh, I have to ask. This is getting pretty deep, but Jeweled Amulet. Tell me how you got to that point.
It's a pretty terrible Magic card, I will admit.
No, I think it's brilliant. Keep going.
I think like on power level, it's probably the worst one, but it is quite good in the deck. So as I was saying, like you kind of want to make a lot of mana as quick as you can. And I came to the realization that I didn't want to keep hands that were slow, so I would put in more kind of like acceleration stuff, like the Amulet. Even though it's probably the worst of its kind of group, it's still good enough to like play a 3-drop on turn 2, like a Trinisphere on turn 2, or like a Crystalline Giant, Metalworker, like stuff like that. That's still an okay curve. So it helps you work towards your quicker draw, or semi-quick draws, but not insane draws. So it kind of lets you keep more hands than you would otherwise. Like you can't really keep 3 land, 3 drops, right? But with a Jeweled Amulet, you can kind of keep that because you curve out decently. not amazing, but it fills a role in the early turns. So
it kind of functions like a Llanowar Elf.
Yeah, I think of it like a Gilded Goose. Like you get 1 mana out of it one time, and then you can put more mana into it to get more out.
Yeah, okay, you get your 3-drop quickly, and then you might save up for your 6-drop later or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah, and it's cool that you can put colorless mana into it as well. It's not just the colored mana.
Yeah. You can like put a colorless in and then tap it for 2 with the Forsaken Monument. Stuff like that's kind of cute.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that Forsaken Monument was a big
that was a good one.
Big win for you. Yeah. And also there was a saga that you got at the end as well, though that you were winning before you got that.
Very excited for the Urza Saga. That was like, because I was at 8-0, 8-0 the round before we could use the Mod Horizons 2 stuff, and I saw I got Nettle Sister and Urza Saga, and I'm like, surely I can get 1 win with these 2 new like sweet upgrades, and I managed to find it. Although I did find my first loss as well, but that's all right.
Yeah, the Nettle Sister is like it's like a second cranial plating, isn't it?
Yeah, cranial with a dude attached is just great.
Yeah, that's good. I did notice cranial plate when I was goldfishing your deck. Cranial plating was really good. It was one of like a really good aggro card.
Yeah, you usually have like 6 or 7 effects in play, so yeah, it's pretty good deal.
Yeah, like to me, I kind of see this deck as like a linear aggro, or it's almost like a fish deck as well. Like instead of 2-1s or whatever, you're casting 3-3s and 4-4s. But you're backing it up with a little bit of disruption, like Chalice of the Void and Trinisphere, to again make the most of your big mana and disrupt your opponent for free, kind of thing, because it doesn't get in your way. Yeah,
you're usually trying to like play 2 or 3 good aggro creatures, and then like a Lodestone or a Trinisphere or a Chalice to like lock down whatever kind of stuff they would do to come back, like catching up with like a Bolt and a Swords, and you like play a Chalice on 1 just to cover that, stuff like that. That's kind of the beautiful, like the idea of what you're trying to make happen. Okay, interesting. Yeah, so you're getting ahead early through the broken mana, and then you're defending that lead on board through like mana disruption or taxing effects. Yeah, or you can do it the other way around as well, like going Chalice on turn 1 through like a Ancient Tomb or something like that, and then following up with good threats after that, and they can't catch up because they need to cast 2 drops, or like you just randomly catch out more spells with the Chalice. And yeah, you just like kind of mess up their spells enough, but your weird-looking aggro creatures are good enough to do the job. Yeah. Okay. And is that
disruption to protect your threats. Is that the role of like things like Welding Jar and Spell Sky in the sideboard? What are that? Or maybe
Spell Sky, they're not quite as like cookie cutter as like if they have removal, you bring them in. Like if they have Wraths and like Destroy effects, then you want the Welding Jar. And then Spell Sky's obviously graded against the Bold deck, so that's kind of their two roles. But yeah, they both do disrupt what your opponent's trying to do to defend against what you're doing. But like in slightly different ways.
Different ways. Oh, thanks. That's really insightful. Yeah, one's against like mass removal, destruction effects, and the other's against like burn. And the Spell Sky probably helps against aggro.
As an 0-4 is a big deal as well.
Yeah, like blocking against Ragavans or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, sweet. I've got lots of questions, but Jeweled Amulet. Yeah, like I was really impressed when I was mucking around with the deck as well. Like the synergy between, I would have thought in a Trinisphere deck, you wouldn't bother playing like Urza's Bauble and Mishra's Bauble. But then I discovered the synergy with like Scrap Trawler. Is that what it's there for? Where you guaranteed, if you lose an artifact, you're guaranteed through Scrap Trawler to get something back, at least a Bauble?
Yeah, Trawler's a lot better having the Baubles. Having access to Baubles is really good. It was more so to like make the Mox Opal hands into good hands.
Okay.
Like I was finding Mox Opal, you'd like play it on turn 1, play a land, and it just wouldn't do anything. But with like 5 0-drops, you can go like play an artifact land, play Mox Opal, play another 0-mana artifact, so either of the Baubles or the Jeweled Amulet. And then you've got 2 mana on turn 1, and you've got like a good hand compared to like one that was a bit clunky, a bit awkward.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Oh, that's really good. Yeah, it turns on Mox Opal for the fast mana. Yeah, the more I'm talking to you, the more I can see the emphasis is on like it's on fast mana. Like you're not playing Basalt Monolith or Thran Dynamo. You're not you don't want that big mana.
I'm not trying to go to like Emrakul like you are.
Yeah, no. Well, obviously your approach is better. Yeah, but you do have a bit of payoff spells in like if you do have big mana in the mid or late game, you've got like Stonecoil Serpent and some top end like what was the biggest guy? Your Mere Battlesphere and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the beauty of having like all activated ability lands. Like you can, if you have like 15 mana, let's say, because of a Tolarian, you can just like fire up a Mutavault, fire up a Mishra's Factory, Kraken, Ventisphere. Like you've always got spells to cast. Like I play you'd think 23 lands in a deck that's also got Soul Ring and Mana Crypt and stuff. Like the deck's like half mana sources when you actually look at it like from that point of view. But all of your lands having like extra tacked on abilities just means you never have excess mana. You've always got stuff to do. So that's why I don't want too many like Sunring Titan or like expensive artifacts that could get stuck in your hand, because you've always got stuff to do with like excess mana, so you don't need too many massive things, I guess.
That's interesting. Yeah, you've always got stuff to do by virtue of your lands and mana. You've always got mana sinks, so you might as well just dump your hand and then do that rather than get stuck with a Titan in your hand.
Yeah, because like there's hands where you have like your 4 mana and like a Battle Skull and a Worm Coil, and you just like can't do anything. So you want to like cut down a bit on the top end, but still have enough that you can go over the mid-range decks and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting that you say that. Yeah, you're still big enough to go over the top of the mid-range decks, but you're also kind of fast enough to beat the combo decks with the added disruption post sideboard.
Yeah, the sideboard's quite like leaning on just haymakers to beat up the combo decks, but you've got enough of them that once you find one of them, you can just about kill them. Like they're all so strong against the combo decks that like 1 plus a decent block is enough to usually do the trick. Yeah.
So that's Grafdigger's Cage, Justice Cat, Mindslaver, maybe even Phyrexian Revoker. Oh, and then the Thorn.
Yeah, Revoker was to name like LED against the the Lotus Breach decks, just to prevent them from going the gifts line of like Breach, LED, Savines, Brain Freeze. Yeah. So you just have like a 2-drop, like an okay creature that prevents exactly that line. So yeah, it's kind of like a little bit better than the average creature in your deck, so you're happy to have it.
Yeah, well, that's one of those vintage all-stars, isn't it? But it's got more targets there. Yeah. Yeah, I saw your deck after round 4. You were 4-0, and I knew it was the real deal because of the sideboard. Because I play colorless as well, so I could tell. I could understand the role of each of your sideboard cards, and I could tell that it was really well considered. So I'll give you my reading of the sideboard, then you can tell me where I went wrong or whatever. But
Sure.
Dismember is to hit like Collector Oof.
Yeah, that's his exact role.
Yeah, and maybe they get the odd tempo deck or like Hooting Mandrills or something if they can be fast as well. Graptiger's Cage is just against combo and Reanimator. Just as Kappa's against combo, especially Oracle is the way to take out their win cons and Brain Freeze.
Yep.
Mindslaver's pretty much the same roles, just a bit more expensive.
Yeah, Slaver was a last minute addition. I'll just quickly explain the Mindslaver because it's a bit of a weird one. So going to the top 8, I knew I was playing against Rug and then the other 2 people in my bracket. So my semi-finals opponents would have been, they were both before the top 8, they were both playing Thoracle Breach. So I was pretty certain that I'd be playing Thoracle Breach in round 2 because I wouldn't think they would have changed decks in the top 8. So I had to put in, I wanted one more card against the combo decks, and I thought Mindslaver was good enough that it's like it can, like you don't want to, it's a bit of a weird one because it's not that effective at disrupting them, but it's also a way to win the game. Like you don't want too many static artifacts that just sit around, don't do anything. Like you can have hands that go like play a Trinosphere, play a Chalice, play a Thorn of Amethyst, and they just buy Lurrus and kill you with the Lurrus because you didn't actually cast any spells that matter. So Mindslaver was kind of one that could also win the game on its own if they have a Demonic Consult or a Tainted Pact in hand.
Oh, okay. You can kill them with their own cards. Yeah, that's cool.
It's just a free win if that happens.
Yeah. Whereas I've tried like more taxing, like Godfarer's statue and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was close to that one too.
It's a different approach. Yeah. I found the Mindslaver a bit slow, but I think it's worth a try. Yeah.
I didn't actually test it, so it might have been bad, but
I think the theory checks out. I didn't think of killing them with their own cards, so that's cool. It's both a disruption and a win con. So Mycosynth Lattice is for Khan. Revoker, okay. So it disrupts combo and even just mid-range and other mana if you need to fight the mirror or something.
Sort of, yeah. It's good because it was open deck lists, so you know exactly what you can name. So if you can count out say you count out 6 things that it's good against, then it's like you can work out how likely they are to have one of them, and then it starts like you can work out how likely it's going to be good. And then you can work out how good it is. Like if they've got Dak Faden and Oko and Rain at 6 and stuff, then you'll be happy to play a slightly worse card that can stop one of their best cards. But I wouldn't play this if it was closed deck lists.
Right. Okay. So you think it's not good enough for the sideboard if it was closed deck lists?
Yeah, no, my paper deck, I've got it.
Right. Oh, fascinating. Okay. Shadow Spears to help you against aggro. All right. It's the life gain.
Yep.
Skyship. Well, that takes out Oof as well, and it also helps against aggro and mid range, I suppose. Why did you choose that one? Is that right?
Yeah. So it's good against like if you look at the Esper deck that Martin was playing, he had like Teferi's Narsets, Big Teferi, Jace. So it's a threat that you can play that'll deal with a Planeswalker because they all go down to like 3, right? Like Jace is on 3, Narset ticks down to 3. Teferi you don't quite get, but like you knock it down like off of the bounce ability. So it kind of like stops them mostly, and it's also a threat just in the late game. So it kind of is like decent removal and semi-threatening. So it kind of works pretty well there.
Yeah. Oh, it's fascinating to hear you talk because I'm always talking about archetypes and like mid-range, blah, blah, blah. But you're getting very specific about like kind of how threats line up against other threats and stuff like that.
Yeah, in open deck lists, you've got so much, like you can be so precise, like line literally card for card, like this card needs to be this card and stuff like that. And yeah, that's what it came down to at times.
Yeah, that's
like Bulbarog is certainly like very like exactly for Fastest Oracle, and that's what I had to do, and it did that fine. So yeah.
I was going to ask you how the open deck list affected you. Did it affect you in any other ways?
it was bad for my top 8. I'll tell you that much.
Okay. Because of the hate.
Because they knew I was probably going to stick to this. So my round 1 of the top 8 opponent, the rogue opponent, he had main deck Collect Roof and like 5 or 6 artifact destroying cards in the sideboard. So yeah, that was a bit rough, but we managed to squeeze that one out. So that wasn't too bad in the end. But
Really?
yeah, that's quite a big downside of the open deck lists for me. But
Yeah,
other
cool.
than that, yeah, it wasn't too much different. It just gave me more time to test and more time to like really thoroughly analyze what you're up against instead of just like generally kind of working out the uptype. You just get a bit more granular on it.
Did you test your like matchups before the top 8 as well?
Yeah, I think about round 6 I started testing matchups. Like I wasn't taking it too seriously at first. It's like it's a free tournament and there's a million players, so you're not gonna like pretend you're gonna win the thing. So I was just playing for the sake of playing in the early matches or early rounds. And then yeah, once I got to I think 6-0, I said I've probably got a good shot at this, so I'll take it seriously now.
Yeah. Okay. And how did that change your approach? So you started testing with a friend or on your own, or?
Yeah, a lot of testing with one friend. Probably 5 or 6 matches against each deck at minimum after that point. So I had good reps against every deck, so I was pretty comfortable in every matchup once I was playing the real deal.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating to hear about what it takes to succeed at that. Once you get to that high level, you could really go to practice and.
Yeah, it was really thorough testing. Like it was every other night, like calling him up, can you help me out? Can we play some games? And he's like got to see his girlfriend and walk the dog and like cook dinner. And I'm just like, play magic. But, yeah, he put some time aside for me. So I'm going to buy him a collector booster box at the end of this to pay him back for all the help.
Oh, that's lovely. And yeah, no, it's good to see your hard work pay off because it's not just about the deck development, but yeah, the actual tournament performance. Like you really honed that at the end as well. Did it affect your in-game decision? Oh, okay. So you've got the testing. So that affected both your decision making in game and your sideboarding as well, and your like what you put in your sideboard and how you sideboard.
Yeah, for sure. Like knowing, we could take like the final game for instance. Like I know Dylan has Fiery Confluence, and I know this is it's triple vindicate against me. So I know it's like the end all be all best card against me, just period, pretty much. Well, except for like Shadowstorm, but in his deck it was the one thing I was afraid of. And once I had like gotten ahead, I was playing the whole game just trying to not lose to that. So yeah, knowing what haymakers to be afraid of is a really big deal when you're playing such a linear deck.
Yeah, well, let's talk more about that, like about how you beat the hate. So you ran into a lot of it in the top 8, and you would have run into the problem with LED breach being good as well is that people are packing their Norods to disrupt that. So tell me about your experience of approaching hate and how you beat that.
The trouble with colorless is that you don't really have an answer. You just kind of got to accept it all the time. I mean, as you said, the Collect Roof is covered by Spatial Contortion and Dismember, and then the Sky Sovereign. But a Null Rod or an Energy Flux or Shadowstorm, these kind of cards, you just hope to kill them quicker than they can cast them. There's really not much, like you can't play Counterspell, so you can't stop it. Your other option is to like tax it, like play a Thorn of Amethyst or a Sphere of Resistance and hope they don't have a 4th land to play the thing that kills you. So that's probably the most interaction you can have for it. But yeah, there's not a huge amount you can do. Just cross your fingers and hope it's not there.
No, but you've done more than that. It sounds like that. I think that approach of like try and kill them before they find it or resolve it is good because what you'll realize I've realized if you play a slower colorless deck, you're more likely to run into the hate because they're going to have more time to cast it. Yeah. And then you're going to need more ways to deal with it.
Did you watch the whole top 8?
I watched the semi and the final.
Yeah, of course, yeah, you couldn't see the round of 8. In the second game of the semis, when the Esper opponent played the Energy Flux, like stuff like that was like I didn't have an answer to it. And I know I just had to like have the cards that I had to beat him with. Like there was it's not like I could draw a disenchant or anything. Like I was just gonna have to play through it. There's no easy way around it. So I just kind of made as much power as I could as quick as I can, made as much mana as I could with the Tolarian and stuff to keep as many things as I could alive. And like I had to lose the mana crypt, which is really counterintuitive because you think you want to keep your mana to pay for the energy flux, but all it was doing is paying for itself. So you have to like lose that, kept the constructs and just like kill him as quick as I can before he stabilizes and then the energy flux will just kill me. So yeah, just trying to find what narrow outs you can to beating them.
No, I think that's,
and like Nullrod too. Yeah,
I think that's really instructive because like you're kind of trying to get ahead on mana quickly or deploy broken mana. They're kind of trying to shut that down. But there's a window before they can shut it down, and even when they shut it down, say with energy flux, you've still got a bit of mana before it all dries up.
Yeah, sometimes the energy flux can just like kill you dead if it's like if you go like artifact land, soul ring, play some other artifacts, it'll just kill you. But fortunately that game I had a Tolarian which like half pays for everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes you can't beat it. But you try to put yourself in a position where you can, and sometimes it's good enough, sometimes not. But yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that you went really, really hard, like on the artifact lands as well. You just wanted to maximize those synergies. You weren't pulling any punches, or you weren't fearing the big null rod. You were just you were accepting that risk.
I think I was fearing it. I'll tell you that much.
There's an article called "Why I No Longer Fear of the Big Red Circle" or something, and it's like written by a burn player. Whereas I lose to Circle Protection Red, but so many things have to go right for the control player to win via the Circle Protection Red. He's got to deal with all the other things in my deck. And that's the approach you've taken. You're sweating the null rod, but they're sweating everything you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the funny thing is, like, people keep hands which is like 5 lands null rod, and you still beat them. Like, you obviously can't mulligan a hand with null rod, right? Like, if you've got your silver bullet, you keep your hand. So they keep otherwise bad hands, and if you just have like one threat that sticks around and they can't deal with it, then you get there sometimes. Like that happens a lot against null rod and collector Roof specifically. I play like one decent threat before they play it, then they lock me out of any other spells, but the one threat just gets there. So yeah, you can beat them, but yeah, just depending on the timing, they'll get you. But yeah, as long as you can get down quick enough, you can invalidate a lot of them.
Yeah, that's another good reminder of like the value of the speed or the aggressive approach that you've taken. It's so fascinating. And we were talking about the quarterfinal, which we didn't see, but Paul, who you played, wrote up something about his experience, and he said that he Hercules recalled you at some point, and you had the chance to activate Expedition Map, and he was expecting you to get Mishra's Workshop so he could waste it, but you got Darksteel Citadel. Tell me about that.
That was a strange game. Yeah,
he was fascinated by that.
Yeah, that was one of the weirdest. I don't know how my brain came up with that because I've never searched for Darksteel Citadel in my life with an Expedition Map, but I like Mishra's Bauble to see the wasteland on top, so I knew he had it.
Okay.
And I thought my hand was like 2 3-drop creatures and a Traxos after the Hercules. So I knew if I kept my Soul Ring, my basic, and got something that can't die to the wasteland, so the Darksteel Citadel, I could play all of those and be fine. And yeah, I kind of stuck to that over getting the workshop, which would have let me play the Traxos a turn earlier, which would have been a big deal. But I just thought I wasn't under that much pressure when he cast the Hercules, so I wanted to keep casting my spells, so I just got the more resilient land, and I think it won me that game, actually. That was a strange decision, but it was a really big deal. Yeah.
And you didn't have a second basic to get. That's why you got the Citadel. There was no other basic.
I drew the island, which is surprisingly convenient because it would just wasteland that otherwise. But
yeah.
It was a strange one.
Oh, that's really good thinking.
That was a cool game.
Yeah, and then what you said as well, then how you weren't under pressure, that changed your line of play. How it's not enough for the opponent to have the hate piece. They also have to have a route to victory as well. Like
I think he had a flip Delver in play at the time.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
But like I had more power. Like I was winning the race at that point, so I was happy to play like a tiny bit slower to just secure like casting all my spells.
We talked about you talked about there are a few ways of interacting with Oof and things like that with colorless, but you do have like Ugin the Ineffable. Tell me about the inclusion of that card in your main deck.
Yep. Just give me 1 second. I got to let my dog out.
That's okay. Oh. Yeah, we're rolling. Go for it. Ugin the Ineffable.
Ugin's a weird one. Ugin's been really not that good for a very long time, and I was questioning why I play it, because like when you down tick to kill something, it just dies to whatever's left over. Like it goes to 1 loyalty and then just gets killed usually. The like 6 mana make a 2/2 is not that impressive. It's kind of questionable, so I'm not sure why I've kept it in. It gets sided out a lot as well. But that said, I'm very glad I kept it in, because it was like the only card that would have won me that the last game of the semi-final. So it's a bit, I could see cutting it, but it did its job very well when I had it.
Yeah, well, sometimes cards, they just fill that key gap, like this weird gap in your deck that they just fill that for some inexplicable reason. I don't know. I thought you might have had it for like the Mystic Forge, like power.
Yeah, it is nice with that, but like obviously if you've got 6 mana to play Ugin, you can kind of cast a lot of stuff with the Mystic Forge. That does make for some of this like most powerful stuff. You go like Mystic Forge, play it, and you can just cast like 10 spells in a turn, and it's just super over. But that's kind of win more, I guess. So
yeah,
that's not really a good justification for it. But
I cut it because it kept running into Spell Pierce in my deck. I was worried, and I couldn't cast it off the Mishra's Workshop.
Yeah, that's the other awkward bit about it. Yeah, it's
I'm not challenging it though.
No, I think it is bad actually. I kind of agree. But
I was just curious as to what your reasoning.
It's not been the worst card in the deck at any point, so it hasn't been cut yet. But it's probably like the second worst for a long time. So it's managed to avoid getting cut, I guess. But it's also interesting, like that plus Thought Knot plus like Mutavault, like non-artifact things that are still threats are really good in sideboard games. Like as you saw, that my Esper opponent had Null Rod, like Narset into Null Rod, and you would think that would be pretty strong, but then Ugin was just like completely ignoring it, like just didn't care about that. So having non-artifact threats in your artifact deck randomly like lets you beat the hate card that they assume will like single-handedly beat you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of made me like it a bit more than I did initially, but it still might not be good enough, but it's there for now.
Yeah, and the two Khans are like that as well, aren't they? You can't shatter them or anything.
Yeah, so it gives you like a slightly different angle, and they're pretty, like, those two are definitely really strong. So,
I noticed you had,
those guys.
Talking about interaction as well, you had like, All Is Dust and Ugin 8 in the sideboard, but you cut that for the top 8. Tell me about that.
So the only deck I thought, well, All Is Dust was never going to be good. All Is Dust's kind of original purpose is to deal with like green mid-rangey decks. So if you're going to go like Birds of Paradise into Oko, into like other permanents you'll put into play, like a Titania or something like that, then you want All Is Dust. That's amazing. But there was no like green mid-range in the top 8, so All Is Dust was definitely gone. And then Ugin was a bit closer, because it's still good enough against the Esper mid-range deck that Martin was playing. Like I still would have brought it in, but he was also like pretty far away in the bracket from me, so keeping like one card for someone who might not even make it to finals if I do didn't really seem worth it. And it was obviously bad against the Rug tempo deck and bad against the combo decks next to me. So I thought they'd be better served as the Mindslaver and the Sky Sovereign.
But did the those big haymakers against mid range, were they useful in the Swiss or not really?
Yeah, there was one matchup where I was like pretty unfavored game 1, and then I kept winning game 2 and 3 because of the Ugin and all this stuff. Okay. They were playing like Field of the Dead, Hour of Promise, Prime Time kind of stuff. And if you just make like 5 Field of the Dead tokens and like clog up the ground, I can't really beat that. So my win, like the way I was winning was like making a big board. They would make their big board, which would be bigger than mine, and then I just Ugin it away and just kill them in like one hit. And yeah, that was huge. That was definitely like the only way I could win that matchup. So they definitely served their role there.
Yeah, you can beat a Liliana emblem as well if with the Ugin 8, you just keep zeroing it.
Stuff like that.
It's good.
It's a big one actually.
Yeah. So last two questions. We'll talk. I could talk all night, but we'll just. When do you bring in the Sphere of Resistance and the Thorn of Amethyst? What are they for?
Mostly just Thoracle Breach or Storm. If people actually play Storm, it's kind of specifically combo hate. There is certain like blue mid-rangey decks I'll bring in the Thorn against because it doesn't stop your creature, like it doesn't stop too much of your threats, and it messes up like Ponders and Preordains, like taxes them enough that it's good enough. Like it doesn't hurt you too much, taxes them quite a bit, so you're okay to play it, but I'm still unsure if they're cards you should be siding in or if they're just like, would be better as a threat. But they're close.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. Yeah, thank you. So you said the one piece of advice you offered Isaac and anyone else thinking about playing workshops was mulligan to your broken mana, which accords with what you were saying earlier about deck development and play. Do you want to just go through a few? You can't see my screen, can you? I was just going to go through some hands so that get your thought. I'll just pause the recording, man.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get Tom's expert input into some hands in terms of whether he'd mull them and how he might sequence them. Maybe I'm not going to give you this one because that's too good. We'll go to the next.
For that one. Anyone can tell you that was.
Oh, that's okay.
That one's lovely. That one's beautiful. Well done.
Yeah. All right. Next. So that's a good hand. Yeah. Well, that's
like 10 out of 10. That kind of.
Okay. 10 out of 10. You got fast mana, a little quick threat, and a big threat.
I think you turn 2 Wormcoil. Yeah. It's nuts.
The Mere Battlesphere.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, you got the City Traders. Turn 2 Mere Battlesphere. That'll do. All right, next one. What about that one?
Yeah, this is the kind of hand that new players would play, and they wouldn't win with it. It's just not gonna. It's gonna tap a land on turn 2 with the port, which is like a slightly redeeming factor. But the trouble is that when your opponent's playing their 3 mana spell and it's like an Oko, and I'm casting my 3 mana spell and it's a Scrap Trawler, but like my card quality is gonna be worse. So you can't be casting cards at the same time as your opponent for the same amount of mana because your cards will be worse just on the basis that you're playing colorless, right? So yeah, this is a easy mulligan.
Oh, that's interesting. So yeah, you're saying on average, because I'm playing colorless, my cards are less efficient.
Yeah, exactly.
So I need to have better mana. Otherwise I'm behind.
Yeah, you're going to cast more mana worth of spells to make up for the worse quality.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, because I would see, I can curve out here, like except for turn 1, I can port them and then cast something. And in a longer, grindier game, I might get there because the Trinisphere and Karn are quite good cards if they're not disrupted. But you're saying, yeah, they're just going to drop Oko or something better and you're going to lose.
I mean, it's not to say this hand can't win games, but like compare it to the first hand we looked at, which was like basically can't lose to anything. If your hand like looks like that, like that's why you're playing the deck. You want to play hands that just aren't beatable. So keeping hands that are mediocre like this is it's just asking for trouble, really.
All right, so Tom mulls, and this is the hand that he gets. This one. What do you keep that one?
Probably you just play a turn 3 Wormcoil. That's probably beats a lot of decks.
Yeah.
It's not exceptionally fast, but like turn 3. Well, it depends if you know the matchup as well. If it's like Burn, then turn 3 Wormcoil is definitely going to win.
Yeah.
But if it's combo, it's probably not great.
Yeah. We'll assume you don't know what your opponent's on, which is not this tournament because you had open deck list. So did that affect your mull decisions a lot, knowing your opponent's deck?
Yeah, heaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, like against the combo decks, you have like a mediocre aggro hand, like kind of grindy with like a Mazemind Tome and a Scrap Trawler. Like against mid range, it's fine. Against combo, it's useless. So yeah, you'd have to mulligan.
Yeah.
If you know that, but in the dark, I would keep this hand.
Yeah, and you would just sink like the island or the Mishra's Bauble.
Probably Bauble. Yeah, I guess we don't know if we're going to draw another land. Probably Bauble because you go like turn 3, Worm Coil, draw another land, play Karn. Yeah, that's pretty good curve. Probably go with that.
All right, so we'll keep that. All right, so on to the next game. About this one.
This is a beautiful example of why you play Baubles, because this hand's great now, right? You play a artifact land, Bauble, Opal, turn 1 Overseer, and then turn 2 hang it back, start putting counters on it, crack your Bauble to get a redraw at that point, and then you're off to the races.
Yeah, interesting. So the Bauble functions as mana, and then when you no longer need that mana, sorry, Tom, I interrupted. You go.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, without the Bauble, this hand casts Overseer on 2, Walker on 3. Like it's the Bauble makes the Opal into an actual Mox in this hand. So it's that's why you play the Baubles. And like the cost of putting Baubles in your deck is not huge, and then it makes hands like these insane. So yeah, that's why you play them.
Yeah, whereas I would reason, I'm playing Trinisphere and I don't want to draw my Baubles in the mid game. I want to draw these haymakers. But yeah, I think your reasoning's better. I'm just comparing. It's interesting.
Yeah, it is. It does have some awkward things. Like you want to your opening hand to know what cards you've got, and like you can't draw instants either. So drawing on your opponent's turn is like drawing in a turn's time. So it's kind of bad. But also I didn't mention with Tolarian having 0 mana artifacts is a big deal too. So it's like one more ticket for it makes them worth playing.
Yep. Cool. So you keep doing this one. Okay, so we had no Mulls to 5 yet.
That'd be nice. Could you imagine? This is a good hand.
Good hand. Okay, so explain that, because there's no typically fast mana in that hand. So explain your reasoning here.
Yeah, it's a bit of it's not a quick hand, but it's like super resilient. You go turn 1, map, turn 2, probably Copter, then turn 3, crack map, hit Tolarian, play like a 4/4 snake, activate Copter, and then you've just got like 7 mana for the rest of the game. You've already got a pretty good board with like Copter plus Serpent. Like it's not, I agree it's not that quick, but like you do enough stuff and you make so much mana from turn 3 onwards that you can justify keeping it.
Yeah. Yeah, the map is mana, isn't it? Like from turn 3 or something.
Yeah, you map on, you play Copter on 2 and then crack map. You got 3 artifacts in play, get Tolarian, and then Tolarian just snowballs from there. So yeah.
Yeah. Whereas I usually get Workshop, but I'm not on Tolarian. But yeah, that's good. That's interesting, because that's where you're departing from your, like, there's no obvious fast mana there, but it's still a good hand for the reasons you've explained.
Yeah, it's a fair point, because I don't actually do anything threatening until turn 3. But I think you make up for your slower start. Like turn 3 Stone Coil plus Copter up is like probably like you'll probably be on par with mid-range decks, but then you're also going to snowball with the Tolarian Academy, so you'll get way further ahead of them soon after that. So I'll be happy to keep it.
Yeah, great. Okay, let's keep going. What about that one?
It's got a Workshop, so I'm definitely keeping.
Okay.
I basically I've got like an automatic like loop in my mind that's just like if I see Workshop or Soul Ring or Mana Crypt, I'll keep a hand.
Okay.
And this one holds true. You just go turn 1 Workshop, Metalworker, turn 2 20 mana worth of stuff.
Yeah. And so the Metalworker makes sense in your deck because you're really emphasizing that fast mana, and it can give you that explosiveness. Yeah. Okay.
Like this hand is, let's say it's a 6 and we put back the City of Traders. You play Metalworker, reveal 4 artifacts. If you haven't drawn any other, that's 8. Plus the Workshop is 11. Plus the Citadel is 12 mana. So you've got like a 6/6 ballista if you want,
yeah.
Or you can like play Mazemind, play Recombine, like just dump in. Yeah, it's just insane.
Yeah, you got options with the Recombiner and power with the ballista, and options with the
that's true. That's a good point. You can do the Steel Overseer trick I said earlier, and then the ballista's also like benefiting from that.
Cool. All right, I'm trying to get a bad hand, but they're all good. Mana Crypt?
That's just how I built it. Yeah, sounds great.
It's all good. You can't get a bad hand with this.
Yeah.
The mana
Yeah,
crypt
mana
you
crypt
keep.
hands are like the simplest. You just like turn one, probably Crystalline Giant. Just because the more turns you leave Giant in play, the more counters it gets, and like the quicker it gets to Hexproof, which is the one you really want.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that beats in. There's a lot of damage there. Okay, mana crypt. So you're keeping that again?
Yep. Keeping all the mana crypt hand.
So do you go Stonecoil for 3 or do you wait?
I think with this hand I go Mishra's, Mana Crypt, Stonecoil, then turn to like play Relic, activate Mishra's, attack for 5, leave Relic up, and then turn 3 Battle Skull. That's probably going to do the trick.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. All right, there's that one.
Yeah, there's nothing going for this hand.
Okay, so that's a Mull.
Like the thing is like, so you're seeing like the average power level of the deck, right? You can kind of get a feel for like how strong you can want a hand to be. And if you look at stuff like this, like it looks okay to the untrained eye, but if you have seen like what you can do, it doesn't compare, right?
I think there is a lot of accumulated experience within the Highlander community, but the Magic community in general around how to play blue decks. But there's less experience around playing workshop decks, I think, in terms of when to mull, what the power level is.
Yeah, you need to kind of remove what kind of biases you had prior to this and like just look at the power level you can expect from an average hand and play towards that.
All right, so we're mulling and this is what you see. You see that?
There's a 6. A close one. It's got the map again, but it's not going to be good with Tolarian because you haven't got artifact lands. That said, you can still go get a Mishra's and kind of work from there.
Did you try Golos?
I have thought about it, but then I have to like, I probably play the Cascading Cataracts to make it a bit better.
Yeah. You got Urza Saga now for it.
Well, that's true actually. Maybe it might be like, that might push it over the line actually. I might reconsider that actually. That does sound pretty good. Yeah, it was just like not quite threatening enough back then, but now that it gets a Saga and you untap and Saga's already on 2, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So would you mull this? This is a 6.
If this is a 6, right? Was the mulligan 6?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I'd keep.
Okay. And what do you think?
Probably Ravager. Like, this is a good example of why Ravager's not that great. Like, you don't want to sack anything, right? Like, all your threats are bigger than the 1/1 counter the Ravager's going to get. You're not, like, sacking Ornithopters to it or anything. So, not too big on the Ravager. I'd probably put that down. Yep. Although the Ravager-Trawler interaction is pretty good if you get, like, a 0 and you can start, like, looping. Like, you crack the map, get a 0, play the 0, find more 1s and, like, crack that, get the map back and stuff like that. But that's very specific and the hand's not really looking like it's going to line up that way. So probably just Ravager.
Yep, cool.
Definitely not Traxos. Traxos is the best threat in this hand by a long way.
Okay. Is it one of the better threats in the deck or just average?
Really good. Okay. As far as 4s go though, I'll have a look at my 4s.
Yeah.
The 4-drop slot is like really contested, but they're all so good.
Yeah.
Like Lodestone, Thought Not Seer, both of the Khans, Mystic Forge. Yeah, they're all great. As far as like pure damage though, Traxos really can't be beat by anything. So if you just want to kill your opponent, if they're playing like combo or something, then Traxos is great.
Is Mystic Forge always good because you're kind of just refueling after dumping earlier stuff, or is it sometimes bad because you put it down and then just don't do anything for a turn?
Yeah, there's a lot of hands where you've got like 2 or 3 cards in hand, and then you look at your top card and it's like let's say you're a little bit behind and it's like an okay spell, but you've got a better spell in hand, and you're like, you want to play that instead. So you're just not really getting any value of the Forge because you wanted to play that spell from hand. But you try to avoid playing Forge like as your first or second spell. You try and cast it once you're out of gas, and then it's insane. Yeah. All
right, just do a few more. Mana Crypt, so you'll keep this one.
You already know I'm going to shift it.
Yeah. I noticed the Forsaken Monument's really good at pumping your man lands as well.
Yeah, it makes Mutavault like a proper threat, and
Yeah,
that's actually like a little tick for this hand to make it even better. Turn 2 kind of sucks, but that's alright. Your turn 3 is Monument, so you're pretty happy.
yep. So do you play? So you play Copter first, and then the Giant, or do you play Giant first?
I think I'll smash quicker than I can just to like. Yeah, I think I would Giant. Oh, actually, it's kind of. No, yeah, I would Giant first. The Copter has nothing I want to discard right now, so the loot's not that valuable. So I would just lean towards the Giant, and also if I draw another 2-drop, I could play Copter plus that. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Finally got a bad one.
Yeah, it's a very bad one. There's nothing redeeming for this one. It's kind of garbage.
All right. We just
Misstep's really good, but yeah, it's not very good.
Yeah. Okay, so why misstep in this deck?
So what little interaction you gets a lot better when it's your only thing. So like if you have like a million counter spells in your deck, then every card is about as good as the other one. If you have one piece of interaction in your deck, then your opponent can never play around it, and it's like the one thing you can't do. So it gives you access to things you can't really, like, the rest of your deck can't do. Like, you can counter a Demonic Consultation and win a game where your deck was just dead in the water. So it's like enough of a different access to what the rest of your deck's doing that it is just good. And like, it's misstep. It always finds its target. So
would you play like would you play a main deck Dismember in the same vein, or is that too bad?
I had it for quite a while, but then Burn got quite popular. Like back in April, I played a tournament up in the city, and I had the Dismember in the main deck, and I played against Burn 3 times.
Okay.
And I was just never happy casting it because it was doing more damage than the creature was doing. So I put it to the sideboard just for like collects roof and
that experience. You were burned off. Yeah, the experience was you were burned. All right, so we'll mull this. Let's look at the 6.
It's pretty bad. I'd be pretty happy to go 5 here.
Yep, let's go to 5.
I noticed you like not doing anything.
You went to 5 twice in the grand final, didn't you?
Yeah, that's all right. That's what you sign up for. This is for the faint of heart. You got to like mulligan like it's normal. Like you can't. If you're someone who doesn't like to mulligan, don't play this deck because you need to. You just have to do it.
Yep. All right, here we go. So this is for the 5.
Yeah, it's great. You go put back Trio Tales, Inventor's Fair, and then you're going. Oh, actually, you could do. Yeah, I would put those 2 back for sure. And then I think I would lead on Scrap Trawler into Saga, maybe draw something, and then you play City of Traders as your 3rd land, and then you can Saga twice, and then you probably have like 12 power and play. You'd be pretty happy.
Yeah.
And you got to misstep something along the way, which is good.
What do you get with the Saga when it runs out? Do you always get Soul Ring, or
usually Soul Ring? Yeah.
Sometimes Expedition Map or something if you need business.
Yeah, map's good to get Tolarian when you've got like a bunch of artifacts in play.
Okay.
In post-sideboard games, you can get Shadow Spear, which is a really big deal.
Oh, nice.
And then against combo decks, you can get Relic in the main or sideboard.
Yeah.
So, Relic. You've got quite a few options. You've got like more mana or like a redraw with Relic. Or just heaps more mana with the map for a Tolarian.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a good thought about how it gets the sideboard cards as well. That makes it better. Yeah, you
get Welling Jar. Yeah, there's...
Grafdigger's
would be a good one too. Yeah, Grafdigger's are great against Thoracle Breach.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. So it's hard to find a bad hand. You've had all good hands, and even when you go to 5, you're happy. So let's
you just need to find one busted card, and you go.
One busted card. All right.
And if you've got 3 looks at it, you'll probably find it.
Yeah. What do you think?
That's not it. Yeah, it's a mulligan.
Let's keep going.
These are interesting ones. I lean towards keeping them. Obviously, it doesn't actually do anything, but you have 2 redraws with the Baubles, so you'll probably find something. Plus the Relic cycles. So there's 3 redraws plus your next draw step, so you got 4. You probably find something by then, and if with 4 redraws you've got and like 7 mana, you probably do something good enough with that.
Yeah.
But obviously this hand could just draw a bunch of lands and you'd be screwed. But I would keep this.
Yeah. Oh, thanks so much, Tom. We'll wrap up there. Going forward, are you going to keep championing this deck, or what do you think you'll do?
As long as no one points it,
No, that won't.
then yeah, if it stays at these points, I'll keep playing it. If it gets one more point, I'll have to reconsider. I'm not sure. We'll see what the points committee decides in July.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still love the deck. I want to keep playing it. Yeah, I love it. It's a good deck. It's served me well, and I want to keep it.
What point, if it gained 1 point, would you think about just changing it or moving away from it?
Probably changing it, because in paper I don't really have anything for like I don't have any other decks I like that much, and I don't really have that many of the cards for them, so I'd probably want to keep it alive if it was good, but 1 extra point's a big deal, because it'd be like losing Tolarian, and Tolarian's just so good.
Yeah.
Like the 4-pointer cards you play are all just so vital. Like as you saw, the mana crypt hands single-handedly, like the mana crypt single-handedly makes the hand, right?
Yeah.
Same with Sol Ring, same with Mishra's, same with Tolarian. So losing any one of those means you see fewer good hands, and that's what you're concerned about. So
were you playing Mana Vault before the Tolarian Academy went to 1?
Say again, sorry?
Were you playing Mana Vault before the Tolarian Academy went to 1?
Yeah, that's right.
And how did that change, affect you?
When you get Tolarian, you have a lot more game against the Null Rods and the Collector Oofs, because Tolarian can just ignore, it just makes mana equal to your artifacts, so you just ignore the Oof. You still have so much mana, and you still make your threats, so you have a lot more game that way. But then again, you also were a lot more vulnerable to the strip ones and the wastelands, because you lean heavy on your broken lands now. So generally it was a lot better for you, because the Tolarian is so strong, but it does sometimes mean you keep hands that just get killed by a wasteland, but that's what you sign up for.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Tom. Any last parting words?
No, I think we've covered it all.
Yeah.
I think you've picked my brain. That's all I've got.
No, that's good. You've given me fascinating insights into your approach to the deck and the different synergies and the different aspects to it. So thank you so much. I've learned a lot from talking with you. Thank you so much. I'm sure the listeners will as well. So thanks, Tom.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right.